Hey, Gandalf and I just wanted to take a minute and share a few thoughts going through our head this morning on this whole subject of gay marriage or same-sex marriage, as it's called, and the huge debate around it that was in society. It seems to have calmed down, but is still raging in the church. You know, it's important to keep in mind as Christians that the arguments for same-sex marriage, they're not dumb arguments. They're not weak arguments considering our cultural values as 21st century Western post-Enlightenment individual liberal romantic thinkers. It all makes sense. And this is why this is such a big issue and will be the issue for our generation in the church as we work through all the implications, because it's not a standalone issue. A lot of times people comment on an article or blog, why this again? Why so much focus on the question of homosexuality? Or, are we trying to beat up or give a hard time to the LGBT community? Well, in general, no. I can't speak for all people, but we live in a multicultural society. So as Christians, this is such a big deal for us because we live in a multicultural society where marriage means different things to different people, and yet we have one functioning government, and marriage is plays a role in civil law and government. And this is such a big, one of the good things, let me say this, because I don't often say this, there's something good that's come out of the whole same-sex marriage thing, and that is that it's caused us Christians to have to dig deep and rethink what we mean by marriage. Because I think we've been coasting along with sort of a lot of the romantic 20th and 21st centuries ideas about why people get married, why should people get married, and we've just been going along with them. And up until now, there's not been much of a conflict. And all of a sudden, this whole thing of gay same-sex marriage comes out. And given cultural presuppositions, it actually makes sense. I mean, it's not dumb. We live in a culture, not like the Greeks and the Romans, where people get married for civil stability or traditional societies to propagate to the next generation and family ties. And, we get married for notions of romance and love. And that's very individualistic, that's very Western, that's very sentimental, and Christians have kind of gone along with it for a long time. And all of a sudden, the same-sex couples say, well, we have feelings of romance and love for each other, and what we're doing is not hurting anyone, and given our cultural values, it makes sense. So we're having to dig down and rethink, well, wait a minute, why? We're having to ask the big question, why? Why do Christians believe that marriage is for a man and woman? What exactly is marriage? And what marriage is not a question that I think Western Christians have asked in a long time. What makes Christian marriage unique? And then how does what we understand marriage to be, how is that different from other communities in our pluralistic, multicultural sort of world? We as Christians, we're the minority. We're one of many minority. I'm not even sure there is a majority, maybe just general secular people, but even those are fragmented into various groups. We have all these groups, and they have different ideas of what marriage is. And so we listen to what the LGBT community says that marriage is. And somehow we need to be able to articulate why our fundamental understanding of marriage does not include same-sex couples. What is it unique about Christianity that insists that it must be a man and a woman? Why is the gender important? And I think us Christians, we've been very lazy in our thinking on this particular subject for a long time. Obviously same-sex marriage is now the rule of the land. So within our Christian communities, within Britain and many Western countries, how then do we define marriage different from the mainstream civil governmental definition? And how do we speak to the communities around us that define it differently? And I think that's going to be the work ahead for the Christian community for the coming years. Why do we believe that there's something different about Christian marriage within our communities? Not that only Christians can be married, but we have a different definition of marriage, of its full significance, something about Christ's relationship to the church and the reenactment of the gospel. Anyway, these are a few thoughts. I'd love to hear some of your feedback in the comments section, as always. What do you think makes the Christian understanding of marriage unique? In a world where same-sex marriage seems to make so much sense, why is it that the undergirding presuppositions of Christian marriage, how are they just different from general society? Not even talking about same-sex couples, just society in general that has sort of a very romantic, subjective view of what brings people into marriage. Happy to hear your thoughts. Thanks. Does that sound good? Gandalf's been kind of quiet on this one. Later.